Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the WGL EU Season 1 for 2015 and 2016. The final match week is upon us. Oliver Laughter, Maxfield, and we have some blockbuster matches to finish things off.
Yeah, it's going to be a pretty epic week, of course. We're at the pointy end of things, as you like to say, so we should really get the final idea who's going to be going to the offline finals in first and second. Of course, we already know Team Supreme will be going there as first, but also who will be playing in those playoffs this weekend.
It's funny because in some sports leagues or some leagues in general, even in esports, you kind of have an idea of who's going to finish where by the end of the season. Here, we have a race for the top, essentially, for a few teams that are sort of just trying to make sure they can secure that top 2 or that top 6 or stay out of the auto relegation zone. All these things that these teams are still in the balance. It's purely because it's so close as well between a lot of our teams. The top 6 and even from 6th through 10th as well, teams are close together. But let's have a little quick look, of course, at our games last week, of course, on Thursday night. If you did join us for that one there. It was an interesting night. We had an incredible game to start things off and then two, well, somewhat stomps. Yeah,
the first game was really where all the good stuff happened. Supreme and Virtus Pro. It was going to be a matchup for the season, and it certainly delivered. I mean, Supreme just about won it. To be honest, Virtus Pro just made some mistakes in that last round on steps where they were just a little bit too aggressive. Didn't really think about where they wanted to go and how they wanted to execute, and Supreme managed to edge ahead there. But it was such a close game. I must say neither team really could be said to be the better. So that was a really good one for me. The other two were complete one-sided matches. Of course, Kazakru needed those 3 points and they really worked for it.
Absolutely. It was a very convincing performance from Kazakru, but there were some pretty epic moments in some of those games on Thursday. So let's have a look at a little bit of a recap video to have a look at those. Actually, just being told we don't have one fired up at the moment. I was getting excited. I wanted to hear actually just how high our voices were getting. But let's have a look at the table then as well, because we were talking about the run for the top and people, these teams getting very, very close together. I mean, have a look at this top 4, Oliver. I mean, that number 2 spot is still up for grabs.
Yeah, I mean, the second spot is really what it's all about, because Kazakru are playing, Synergy are playing this week, so we really get to know who's going to be going in to second place. I'd say Kaz is really the only one who has a chance. If they do manage to beat Tornado Rocks on Thursday, then it will be theirs for the taking and they will be going to the finals as an automatic spot. If they don't manage to do it, then of course Tornado will be going there, and Synergy is really playing for 3rd place.
So they do have a shot, of course, at that 3rd. But for them, to be fair, it doesn't make a huge difference whether it's 3rd or 4th at this stage. I mean, going to playoffs, they still have to go through that process. They still have to get there and playing through that last little bracket, which will be this weekend, by the way, on Saturday and Sunday evenings. You'll be able to check us out here and we'll be getting involved in that stuff. That will be interesting as well. Still a lot to be decided yet. And Melly, last week, in fact, we've had the last couple of weeks as well, we've had contrasting games, some really close games, some really not so close ones. But the action, it seems like it's just ramped up as the season started to finish off.
Absolutely. I mean, it's getting more and more exciting. People figuring out the new maps, which we barely seen, actually, sadly.
Not so much, yeah.
But maybe this will change next season. Regarding that, will the map pool change again, Ollie, or will we stick with those maps?
Well, the map pool is not decided by us. It's more about what Wargaming wants. Of course, if they decide to change the map pool, we'll go along with that, but it's up to them. It really just depends where they want to go. It's also a thing where after the grand finals, the map pool does change because it's like a whole new season. So it might not change it. I'm not sure.
Okay, cool. But yes, people, our questions don't matter, our opinions don't matter. It's all about you. If you have any questions, head over to Twitter, for example, and tweet us using the hashtag WGLEU. That's one way of getting in touch with us and talking to us. We love hearing and reading from you, so keep doing that. You're awesome. And another thing I want to ask you guys, of course, is getting involved in our team vote over at facebook.com/WGLEU, where you can vote for your favorite team, predict the exact scoreline for the upcoming match, which we even haven't talked about. But yes, guys will tell you later who's playing against whom and what's up on the stakes, and you have to decide who's going to be the winner. If you head over to our Facebook page, you can see and vote and predict the exact scoreline, and if you do so and if you get it right and if you're one of the 3 fastest, then you might win a bonus code.
Absolutely, and as you did mention, we don't quite know what our matches are going to be for tonight. It is important that we tell you there is a bit of a reschedule, one of our bigger matches, so let's bring up our schedule for tonight and have a look at what we're diving into here, Oliver.
Yeah, so with the big reschedule, of course, was between Tornado Rocks and Kazakh. That won't be taking place today. That'll be happening on Thursday in a couple of days' time, so we really get to see that second place match then. Today, we got Utopia vs Pro. Should be interesting. Utopia seem to be on till right now, and Virtus Pro, if they want to have a good position going to the playoffs, I don't think they'll make the second place, obviously won't. They need to get this match. No Mercy Ding, I predict Ding will take it. They also are vying for a playoff spot. Supreme Synergy. So Synergy, I don't think they can get second at this point. Again, it's about that third place in the playoffs.
Of course, Utopia were rocked by Kazakh Crew last week, in which Kazakh Crew played 2 games and went 5-0 in both of them. So they're looking strong as well. And it's it's fitting, I feel, that one game between Kazakh Crew and Tornado Rocks to decide who's going to be getting that second auto finals berth role will be happening on our last match day. So keep your eyes peeled for that one as well. But again, Synergy and Supreme will be interesting as well, because Supreme, to be fair to them, they had tiebreakers against Rocks and Virtus Pro. So they it says a lot about our top 4. It is very, very close together as well. It'll be interesting to see how that one works out. And speaking of Virtus Pro now, they've got to deal with Utopia, and as you said, yeah, they had a tough couple of weeks here, but Virtus Pro as well, you know, off the tiebreaker loss from Supreme was a close game, but Utopia are the caliber of team that Virtus Pro has struggled with in the past. Even in this season, we've seen them falter against teams like this.
Yeah, for sure. I think Utopia can challenge Virtus Pro, but for me, like, the theme for Utopia this season has been they've been pretty good against team of their own caliber and below, but when they actually have to fight against the topper teams, the higher teams in the league, they seem to struggle a lot. So I'll be really interested to see if they can actually, you know, take a few rounds of Virtus Pro. I don't think they'll be able to win. As I said, you know, Virtus Pro are sitting in 5th place right now. They have a chance of being knocked off that, even though, you know, the difference between 5th and 6th is vast, basically. So I don't think they'll go down to a relegation spot, but they would really like to get these 3 points to go slightly further up the table. For
them as well, it's possible that Utopia can drop out of that top 6 as well. So they might not even make playoffs at this rate if they lose, because Penta and Ding are nipping at their heels. They're quite close together here. Yep. And MLE, of course, we've got the Polish teams who we always expect a lot of involvement from the fans. Absolutely. And Virtus Pro, who are back on form. Their fans now surely feeling a little bit more confident about giving them the 5-0 or 5-1 tips on the vote.
Absolutely. I mean, you have to keep in mind, Utopia is coming from a loss streak of 4 matches in a row. And as Ollie stated, those were the top teams. They had good performances against teams that were located somehow near themselves, exactly. Yep. But against the top teams they do struggle, and Virtus Pro is definitely one of the top tier teams we have in our seasons, and we always had. And you said yourself, they're back on track. They're back on the winning point. They somehow found their way through the maps again, luckily. But this is going to be really hard for Utopia, in my opinion. But people, as said earlier, our opinions don't matter. And if I get, if I commit to a scoreline, it always goes the other way. That's why I don't even say which way this match is going. But it's pretty clear on paper if we look on the on the former results of Utopia.
Yeah, I mean,
95% for Virtus Pro. Yeah. Well,
that's more than what. Yes. Okay, so there you go. So Carmen, for example, someone who doesn't commit to votes is Carmen. Every week I like to bring this up. He makes a post. He's 54. Like 55, 45, best team versus worst team, 50-50. Let's be honest here. They could really, be strong here.
They could surprise.
And all I want to do is be like, Carmen, you're wrong, but he makes it a little bit hard. Anyway, so let's have a look a little bit at what Kusok had to say about this matchup as well, because they know Utopia. They played up against them before. Yeah. Let's see what the captain of Virtus Pro had to say.
Utopia is one of the middle tier teams. When you play with them, can't relax. How we will perform for them? We need to win. We will do our best. Will we reshape our prepare after Synergy beat us? I think yes, we fix mistakes, what we make. In online part, it's better than be ashamed on the line finals with same situation.
Now, we were quite interested as well to hear what Kusok's thoughts were after that mid sort of season loss to Synergy, where they got pretty much embarrassed here. And he said it's better that this happens online than at LAN. And again, he seems to be confident, but he definitely isn't thinking he's going to be relaxing for this game.
It's quite funny he says that because they have never really lost online. So you can see that maybe the way Virtus.pro approaches these matches is changing slightly. They've had their kind of honeymoon period where they've been winning everything online and losing everything offline. So now Kusok's thinking, okay, so maybe we shouldn't win everything online. We should maybe lose some matches, keep ourselves guessing, keep ourselves on the bleeding edge, and then when we do get to those offline finals, we will be on form. We will be wanting to actually get the wins in instead of crashing out in the semi-finals or finals.
And they have said as a result of that game is they do, well, Kusok said this, he is planning to change, I guess, the way that Virtus.pro are approaching these games. You know, going from, you know, guys like ASAP saying that we'll crush them to now maybe changing that mindset a bit. Let's see what they can do here, of course, against Utopia. The first map of the night will be Steps.
Steps, the most open map of the league. The attacking team appears near the rocks at the bottom of the map, and the defending team starts at the top. Bases are located near the railway and on the green. The best way to control them is to use the lowland near the second base. The attacking team usually unfolds the attacks from the rocks and the railway, but sometimes they can attack through the green. Teams often drag vehicles from flank to flank, so both teams usually pick light setups, but sometimes use tanks with a strong turret, and even SPGs.
So that's going to be the map, of course. Steps, you all should know it fairly well by now. We're getting a lot of these sort of Steps, Himmelsdorf, some mines thrown in the mix there. So these teams are now sort of starting to zero in on those maps that they really like to play, or they're going to give us the most competition here. Now, I mean, what are your thoughts about Virtus.pro on Steps particularly? I mean, this was actually one of the maps I believe they played against Synergy on, where they really seemed to not have too much response here. How are we feeling about them? They've always been more of a city map kind of team.
Yeah, I think, well, they lost those 2 rounds against Synergy on this one, but they were already losing so badly, it's of no consequence almost. I think for Virtus.pro on Steps, they've typically been pretty good. It was actually the tiebreaker map against Team Supreme. They lost it there when they were on the defensive side. And I don't know, we'll have to see how they work. Usually they are good on Steps. Like, they are a good team. They have good coordination. They know how to play the standard tactics. They can be very strong. But again, you know, Utopia, they love the heavy tanks. They like playing those IS-3s. But I think either way, Virtus.pro should be able to get at least a 3-1 here, maybe even a 4-0. Just looking at the previous results, I mean, Utopia have played Kazakru, they've played Tornado, they've played Team Supreme, and they've lost them all. Yes, okay, they're the top teams, but they should really be getting better and better as they go through those teams. At the beginning, they did 3-5 against Team Supreme, and then they went 2-5 against Tornado Rocks, and then they went 5-0. This is a loss to Kazakru. So for me, it looks like at the moment Utopia are going down instead of going up.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough though because we're isolating these 3 matches as an overall opinion of how they perform as a team. When we said this, we said Utopia have an easier start to the season. They have some of those mid to lower tier teams to go through, and then they're going to have this really nasty 3 or 4 weeks where they're up against the top teams. In fact, and that's how it's been. As you said, Supreme, then of course Rox, then Kazna, now Virtus.pro. So 4 of the top 5 teams they have to fight right towards the end of the season. So it's such a hard thing to do to get a real good snapshot of how they're going in the grand scheme of things when, you know, they get the easier teams first, the harder teams later. I mean, is it possible that their ranking was higher than it maybe should have been? Maybe this is now going to even that out to what is more appropriate or suitable for them.
Yeah, Utopia are like 3rd place at some point, I think, in this season. So, yeah, I mean, I think right now, as Kusok said, they're a middle tier team, and that's really what they've been fighting for. And I think they deserve more than they got right now. I think they maybe should have won against the last 3 teams or got 1 point away. And yeah, I think they definitely have to do better. And same with Virtus.pro. I think they are also sitting right in the middle of that table and need to actually step up if they want to be, you know, getting an easier way into the playoffs, getting an easier way into the offline finals. And,
you know, and credit to Utopia as well. Their Ruhenberg play against these top teams has actually been pretty good. 3-1 against Supreme in their favour on their game on Ruhenberg, and then was 2-2 against Rock. So this is a team that is confident on that map. We're not going to see that tonight, though. It's going to be Steps Himmelsdorf. So I get maybe they've chosen Himmelsdorf, maybe feeling more confident on that one. But time to jump in now. Let's see exactly what Utopia can do on the map of Steps. Intimidating for them. Kazakru made them look like amateurs on it last week. Let's see what they bring into the fight. Let's see what they can do with it.
So in typical Utopia form, like picking IS3s on every single map, with Bishu, Wicked, and Mucker playing those, they are going to head in towards that right side, and I think it's just a very normal boost up for Virtus.pro. They got the WZ131 instead of a tier 8. That's an interesting change. I think it just about performs okay. I mean, view range is alright, gun depression is not great as in pretty much a lot of those Chinese tanks, but he'll do its job well, and it's not going to be any worse than a T-54 lightweight, I don't think. So let's see what happens. I think you can see by Virtus.pro's turrets that they are looking towards that left side a lot more. So they are going to be predicting that Utopia, with those heavier tanks, are going to be heading towards that right side cap.
Yeah, you can definitely see that on your screen now. Virtus.pro sort of set up all in that top corner, and Utopia are about to sort of get to grips here very, very quickly. Now, as we do see, they're actually the blue side is Utopia, the red side is Virtus.pro, for those who are wondering. A little bit mixed around there. We'll get that fixed for you in just a moment here. So they will be approaching. It looks like they're quite aggressive almost. How much are they going to commit to this push?
I think they're going to commit 100%. They just need to get into that second cap, keep the pressure on there, and you know, try and get as little damage as they go through. They've already received some damage there from the HE shell of the WZ131 and Povl in the T-54 lightweight, and finally some does connect.
Okay, now the push on towards the cap has begun, and Mucker has taken a couple hits, and even Kusok now, with that WZ131 in that boosted position up on the hill, can put some damage down on towards these three IS-3s. Will he be vulnerable to the return fire? That's the question. Right now, not really. He's fairly safe behind that rock. As you said, WZ131 doesn't have the best gun depression in the world. He sort of does have to hull over or come out into the open to get those shots. He can't really do it completely safely. So Utopia set up camp on that capture, and Virtus.pro now moving in formation. They want to swoop down on towards this one. You can see Breakneck even moving towards the south. He'll be finding Potomac briefly. They can push onto this cap, surely. Yeah,
they can. They can easily just go do the standard surround, which is Virtus.pro's main plan right now. They need to get the timing right, and you can see WZ131 is getting those resets occasionally, as Just Cause is now in position to try and engage.
Strange move by Utopia here. That it's kind of their plan A is their only plan, and they're moving on to the cap. They're going to have to move off in a second and do some hard and fast brawling, I think, as Coca-Cola is going to be forced back on the lower side of that hill from a few shots. Breakneck takes two as well. Wicked now one from each direction. And those IS-3s getting a little bit low for Utopia up on that cap here. But still, Virtus.pro with the 54 lightweights and the 131s are now getting into a bit of a brawl scenario here as Povl takes down Papa. Back money left to deal with two. The overmatch, they come easily right now for Virtus.pro. Getting those 2v1s is all they need. Even Coca-Cola's going to come and contribute to that one and try and knock the brawling force out of Utopia.
You can see what Utopia is trying to do there. They try and keep some tanks back to basically keep Virtus.pro guessing, especially if they go in for a standard engage. But they didn't. Virtus.pro just takes care of those tanks before moving on to the rest. McMoney now in a little bit of trouble. Utopia are fighting back, yes, but they are being dropped.
Back and forth it is here. Utopia only left with 3 tanks, so you know the health point advantage is there for them. But with only 3 guns and IS-3s, these BL9s are the fastest reloading weapons. Virtus.pro should be able to really exploit the fact with these 54 lightweights on the map. And Shulky now is going to get backed up by Wicked as he comes straight on down that hill. But Povl's going to be looking for the shot, the finish on towards that 54 lightweight, and he's a one-shot now. Shulky, as Bishu as well, is going to roll on in. It's a missed shot from Shulky, who's got to make everyone count right now. Bishop does go down though. The 3v4 starts to unfold as Povl pushes up. He's happy to brave any sort of damage coming from the IS-3 if he can get that kill. And now he just has a circle around Wicked, who's also going to be a one-shot.
I think Povl will have no problem at all eating Wicked alive, and that really low shoal from Bishop doesn't help.
Well, that's Povl now going to get the finish off on towards Wicked. Bishop was tracked up on the hill with his rear end up in the air. He's going to take a couple shots as well, and that's not going to make things any easier. Of course, having more guns in the game makes a big difference. And Virtus.pro going to take that first round away. Obviously, the colours were a little bit back to front as well. That's why we had that come up as well. Everyone's sort of second-guessing which team was what there. So Virtus.pro, they get it done. Again, we're seeing this characteristic lineup from Utopia. They can't resist but to take a few of those IS-3s here. I mean, do you accept this? Is this acceptable? Or for them, do they really just need to try and go for something different? They have done it before, but it always seems their first option is to go for those heavies.
Well, it's definitely a standard tactic on steps. One of the more set plays. You take those heavy tanks, you push onto that right side, you bully the other team out of there. It's the quickest way to get from the spawn to a cap. So you can see why they did it, and we've been talking about Utopia the whole season, winning on Ruinberg because of the IS-3s, winning on Ghost Town because of the IS-3s. So maybe it's not unpredictable from them. It's predictable from them. But VirtusPro knew exactly what to do. They weren't predictable. They didn't go for those standard, like, try and get the resets. They got the one resets with Kusok from that A8, A9 area, and then they engage onto the tanks that are actually just there to set up a trap against VirtusPro. They engage, they take down Potomaco, Papa, and McMoney, and then they can move on to those IS3s, which are getting locked down by Kusok. Povl does a great job as well. 5 frags to his name and 2,400 damage in that T-54 lightweight. We were actually focusing on him for most of the battle, and he was really, really on point.
Yeah, I mean, and you can see, of course, Kusok was up in that back corner on the WZ-131. He was getting, obviously, the spots were coming out for him. He was able to make these shots. So he made 12 shots. I think 8 did connect. And obviously, the gun on the WZ-131 isn't exactly the best.
No.
Would you have liked to see him roll off the hill there? Or were you fairly happy to see him just sit up there and continue just to try and get some resets or get
It's fine. You can just sit there and get the resets. There's no need for him to engage. He just needs to be that guy who can reliably hit the shots, load HE if he has to. I mean, that tank does like 200 damage per shot with an insane a rate of fire, so he can really start doing the pain even to the IS-3s. The only problem is if it doesn't penetrate, you won't do any damage, so that's why you could see sometimes he was struggling to do that, but it doesn't matter. VirtusPro do walk away that first round. Still a second chance to defend, and Utopia another chance as well to attack. Let's see if they can change things up and take this round.
Yeah, I mean, lineup-wise, we can see here it's not really going to be too different at all for Utopia. You're going to go with these IS-3s as per usual. And now we do have our colours all fixed up for you there, ladies and gentlemen. And it is the lightweight lineup again for VirtusPro.
Yeah, just the standard lights for them. I mean, this is not unusual as well. We see a lot of teams with just light tanks. Didn't work against Team Supreme, but Utopia is a whole different kettle of fish. It should be a lot easier for them to win just based on their individual skill. You can see Kusok just going straight up. You can see LTTP a little bit more aggressive this time from Potomaco, trying to spot that boost up. Doesn't find anything though, so he will have to try and probe a little bit further or go back, but him going in the cap will be an obvious sign as some crossfire does go towards Kusok.
Kusok has been spotted there, so the shots are going to come out towards him, and if they can get him out of the game here, he won't be able to be that menace, that resetting menace there. He does go down, shot comes in from Papa, and we'll clean him up. It's a good start for Utopia. They don't have too much risk of being constantly reset, but even so, Potomaco opts to leave the cap, absconding towards the valley. It looks like Utopia going for a slightly different tweak on this strategy. Potomaco distract himself coming off the hill. Some
less than ideal driving by Kusok and then Potomaco, but it's just a massive advantage for Utopia. No, that's a big problem. They got reset the whole time, so VirtusPro didn't have to worry about the IS-3s for pretty much the whole battle, so they could deal with the lightweights. So this is going to be a lot better situation for Virtus. Good to see that they're really willing to try new things and go forwards, and they know what VirtusPro would like to do. They know they can be a little bit predictable at times, so they are going to set up for a second time, this time with a lot less damage. Remember, Maka had already received like 500 damage in that cap, and he's only received about 200 this time. So I think Utopia are in a good position right now. VirtusPro were fairly quick though to mobilise their forces towards the south side. You can see the 2 lightweights and the WZ-131 of Karitz there. We're trying to get around, and Potomaco again being left as that sort of vanguard spotter. He will see those 3 tanks coming towards him and give Utopia some time to respond to this. It's a decent little lead in terms of health points here, of course, with Kusok out of the game. That's 900 health points just for his tank off the table. And the cap does continue as well, now down to 5 seconds. This is going to require a response from Utopia now as they try and push over. No resets are coming in though. There comes one though. Coca-Cola gets a reset on towards Bishu, but again, the clock keeps ticking right now, and it has to be consistent damage over to the capping tanks of Utopia. But in the meantime, the auxiliary forces here, their own little lightweight wolf pack with a LTTB is going to go towards VirtusPro. Bishop now is the man in the sights. Breakneck is trying to help out from the distance as well, do some damage and force those lightweights away. Back and forth stuff right now. The cap is not really the biggest consideration right now as these teams have just resorted to brawling. But it's a 2 versus 4 situation. VirtusPro should not be able to walk away with this one at all. I mean, this is like a super hard game for them to win full stop. Not just because they've also been 2 tanks short for most of it, but also because the damage Utopia are doing. They've actually innovated very well, trying new things as Breakneck goes down. That's right. Coca-Cola now going out for a bit of a reset shot. Won't be able to get it. Just cause it's, well, single tapped, in fact. From an IS-3. As Bishop drops, Mac Money does drop though. Utopia this time have the guns in the game. Only 3 tanks left on VirtusPro, and not a lot of health points between them as well. A pittance, if that. And Bishu and Market know it's time to move forward. It's time to get these shots on Coca-Cola. They get the finish here easily enough here, but Bishu goes down. Just cause Chippy nicely there. The double tap for VirtusPro helped a lot, but it's not going to be enough at this stage. Props to Utopia here. Small changes, like you said, those little innovations might work out for them here. Coca-Cola and Just Cause bouncing a lot of shots here. Maka goes low.
Just under 1,000 hit points.
Maka could easily fall here if Coca-Cola gets a high roll. Doesn't manage to find it, and he is going to be on really. But brilliant little crossfire there by Just Cause. Takes down one tank, but Potomaka will be there to finish it off as Utopia do pick up that second round. Small changes led up to a big difference.
It's funny, getting a little bit dicey there towards the end. Virtus Pro able to take it quite close, but you know, it's funny. It's a ostensibly, like, on the face of it, a similar lineup from Utopia. Very similar rollout as well, heading again towards that eastern side, wanting to take control of that cap. And this is where they pushed on here, forcing Virtus Pro to sort of poke up for these ones because they no longer had the WZ available. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, that was a huge blow. To be honest, I was tempted to say Virtus Pro had already lost it by that point when Kusok went down, and then this was this big brawl. 3 versus 4, but obviously with one tank and Virtus Pro was already in bad position. He got taken down immediately. So that's already 2 tanks down. Both the Ws are 1-3-1s. Breakneck and Bishop now going to get surrounded. And Virtus Pro play very well. You can see Coca-Cola did 2.3k to get his team pretty close, within inches of winning, but Utopia just had every single advantage and managed to push it home. So really good to see that the Polish team is changing things up, going for that early scout, knowing exactly that Virtus Pro are a predictable team, and it's definitely been one of their weaker points this season.
Very, very similar lineup for them as well. I mean, I understand the old adage, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But you do give your opponents that amount of time to adapt to out metagame your sort of approach and your strategy here. Potomako, props to him with 5 kills in the LTTB, showcasing that tank quite nicely actually. We normally see him on a heavier tank or sometimes on a tier 6, so that LTTB now coming into the fold for the Utopia guys looks quite good here. Getting that attacking round on steps, obviously it's a good start, but now we often see defensive play on steps can be quite tricky. Will we see, you know, Maka pick up that T32, go for that sort of standard work in the valley sort of poke up play?
I think there's a good chance. I mean, let's be honest here, it's Utopia. They're like the heavy tank gods. I think they've taken that whole mantra we've been saying a lot in Season 5, where if you want to have the best spreadsheet chance of winning a match, you just need to go for the numbers. You know, go for that damage from the bigger guns, from the 105mm on the T32, from the 122mm on the BL9, and then the more HP and the more armor, as opposed to going for the higher skill tactics, the more, you know, innovative tactics where you're relying a lot on those low damage T54s. So I think that's what Utopia have been like the whole season. It's been fairly successful. I think it works against those lower teams. It's been broken down by Cancer Crew, Team Supreme, and Tornado Rocks, and I think Virtus Pro is on that same level. So if they don't take this match seriously, it's going to work. If they do, I don't see how the full T32 stack is gonna work out. Yeah, I mean, we have seen as well some teams picking up the double Tigers instead of you know, LTTBs or WZs as well. Just for extra health points, we see a team get over 10,000 points in health of doing that, but doesn't always work out that well. Like Tiger has like 80mm of frontal armor, I think 100 on the turret. It's not well armored at all, gets penned by anything, just soak up a bit of damage. Not sold on it. It's just a walking torch box as well. The transmission is right in the front of the tank, so as soon as you get hit there, you get set on fire, you die. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's worse than the IS-3 for getting Amaract. But I can tell you right now, as we do head in the game, we have got 4 T32s from Utopia, so I mean, let's be honest here, boys. We haven't even seen that yet this season. I was always like, yeah, like an example of what would be an excessive use of these heavy tanks in Utopia have just gone and done it. Yeah, I mean, like, we've seen this in other in a couple, well, I think 1 or 2 times in the previous season, Season 5. But this is the first time. But you can see Virtus Pro with the M44 of Kusok, like that could be a real damage deal. I even am tempted to say if he actually hits his shells, it's going to be a win for Virtus Pro, and if he doesn't, it's going to be a loss for Virtus Pro. It all just depends on him. I mean, he can stay safe for the whole game because they've only got 3 light tanks. Utopia only got 3 light tanks to spot him out. They can't really do like a really fast, quick tactic. So Kusok just needs to get in position. He needs to take a deep breath, drink his coffee, and hit those shells for Virtus Pro to win. Talk to me about this one, because we've got 4 T32s. They don't have the 105s on them as well, by the way. They've got the lower caliber gun. 90mm. The 91, thank you, Mr. Analyst. Can we just brawl into this? Can't you just take a team of lightweights and just try and focus down those T32s? Sure. Just, you know, is that too risky? Is that not? Well, obviously it's not Virtus Pro, but on paper, is that going to be a successful strategy? That's what. Well, the thing is, you know, with 4 T32s, you got like the ultimate blind fire tank. You got like 6 seconds, 6.5 second reload on that 90mm, so you can just sit there, hold down, shoot towards the cap, and you've got 4 of them to do that. So capping in that #1 cap is going to be super hard to actually complete successfully. So I think what VPro will be wanting to do is first get Kusok to do as much damage as possible, get into a situation where VPro can win those brawls, and then they can move on to bigger and better things like killing the tanks of the T-32s, or maybe even going for a cap and just basically saying to Utopia, okay, we've done like 2k damage to your T-32s. If you want to move forwards, you're going to be at a big risk.
It's important to note here that VPro don't have those, you know, semi-expendable tier 6 tanks. Kusok is here to do real damage, and they can't afford to lose him. They can't afford to sort of use him to bait out any sort of attempts at decapping here. They're using Karitz, who's actually this time in a T-54 lightweight. So it'd be interesting to see what happens when VPro get to brawling and see how, you know, Karitz manages to juggle the dual role, I guess, of sort of calling and getting up close and personal with the opponent.
He did that against VPro as well when they played last week. It did end up working, but I have to say he wasn't really the main factor why they won that match. So I mean, Karitz, I've seen him play some higher tier tanks. He's not bad at all, but it's that thing where, you know, like Na'Vi kicked Deluxe, the team manager now, who's obviously one of their main guys, also kicked Eclipse because, you know, it just simply wasn't an option to have 2 tier 1 players or 1 tier 1 player and an artillery player. You needed all 7 players to be able to stand up on their own 2 feet, being able to play those tier 8 tanks, being able to, you know, be the one that is the MVP on any particular day.
Well, Kusok has definitely had a few of those awards of his own in his time. Beast with the artillery right now. So VPro, they're tickling this cap here. They're taking it fairly slow, and they are trying to use Kusok to get as much damage down as possible. Bishu there being paying for poking up there to try and get some lights over on towards that capture area. Just causing Breakneck a lit here. So they are 2 tanks that actually aren't really on the cap right now. And look at that's a great shot in from Kusok. 762 damage off of Milka. And that's exactly what VPro are trying to do. Is this going to force Utopia to push in?
But Potomako just went forwards. He actually got the spot on Karitz. Now the damage will come in. Karitz has to run away. 500 comes towards him. Of course, that T21, an absolute beast when it comes to spotting. Same view range as the light tank for tier 8. Just an absolutely incredible tank. But the damage has been done. VPro's done quite a bit to Utopia. Down about 2.5k hit points at this point. And yeah, I think Kusok needs to continue what he's doing. Karitz needs to get back on that cap. VPro still has time to cap this one out.
Kusok has hit that one important shot towards Bishu. Another one's going to be coming in a moment. It's not going to connect with Wicked. But VPro, they're softening up that steel wall of T-32s. They're going to give themselves an opportunity to be able to push on with confidence soon. Even Kusok now changing position, but on your screen you can see Breakneck. He's just been lighting up those 32s. Poking over, getting the spots, that information being sent straight back towards Kusok. He's just raining down from above with some of those artillery shots. But Kusok was lit. He did take a hit, I think, as he moved across, and this could be dangerous for him. He's got to continue on now. You can see him on the left side of your screen setting up to get a little bit closer and make some of these shots count. And the cap is halfway done as well. This is again going to force Utopia to make a response, to make a move towards that cap and try and reset.
Brilliant little spot there from Utopia. I think they'll be kicking themselves for not having the 105mm, so they can't just one-shot him. But that's bad news for Kusok. He doesn't hit that shell. I mean, he's only hit 1 or 2 this whole round so far, but they've only got 5 seconds to get the decap. They do manage to do it. As you can see, the T-32s of Utopia are starting to push out, and Karitz is in trouble.
He's been getting punished, and those, as you said, those 90mm coming in towards him as well, with Mac Money up on the hill to get those spots up close, and Karitz will go down. Just cause, though, fired his shot, is still well and truly healthy, as are most of VPro's lightweights here, with maybe the exception of Breakneck. So they do have a good fighting force right now if they want to go down that path. And Mac Money now, he's being forced to pay again for moving up. Utopia, they know they have to invest these health points in gaining information. That's what they've been doing all game. And there is a point, though, when you can no longer afford to invest these health points. And Mac Money might be on the precipice of that. He will go down. Bishop now in the south to get that shot. And Shuki now, he's going to try and shake things up. He might go for the 1v1 on Bishop, get him off the map as quickly as possible. It's going to be one less thorn on the side of Utopia.
But great little map awareness there by Bishop. He knows that the obvious move from Utopia would be to push around, try and take him down, so he's running away as fast as possible. He's actually going up north to regroup with the rest of his team so they can push in, so they can actually kill Utopia, who are very, very wounded at this point. The only big problem for VPro would be that timer, 1 minute left on the clock, and they will have to deal with Shuku, who is actually rotating in that T-54 lightweight. So this could be trouble for VPro if they don't finish this off quick.
Another shot rings in from Kusok, and you see Povels going straight towards these T-32s, and yeah, they're great from afar, but right now, their hull armor is not going to be enough to withstand the shots coming from most of these 54 lightweights here. Just Cause is taking some damage as well there, but there goes Bishu. Still 3 T32s on the board, but they're going to get chunked right on down. Papa's a one-shot. So is Wicked right now. Mucker is not looking overly healthy at all as well. Kusok trying to do some work from a distance, but Breakneck and Povell right now, they're getting it done. They're doing all the work that needs to be done. And you can see that Shukyu has absconded in his T54 lightweight. He won't be getting involved in this fight now, as we do see Mucker just about to drop. And of course, with Utopia defending with 14 seconds left, this is a clever move right now. Virtus.pro have to either cap or kill him. They can do neither of these things, and Utopia might have just snuck a win.
It's exactly what I said. You know, Shukyu, if he just runs away, if the two T54s of Virtus.pro don't spot him out, and it was very close to spotting out, it's going to be game over. Utopia had a minute to play with. They managed to keep it in the bag, and you know, they just run away. So great play by Utopia to win that one.
It's Utopia, not Virtus.pro on that one, mate.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, seriously, that's exactly what she'd be doing. You know, you have the T32s, you get that timer as low as possible, you put the tier 6 in as late as possible to get reset in, and you just play for that clock, and then eventually you just send Shukyu around your T54 lightweight, getting away from the action, and go for a draw.
We were praising Bishop as well for the fact that he's grouping up with his team, he's heading towards the northern side, they're getting ready for this final push. But in the meantime, Shukyu's like, well, actually, I'm not going to fight you. I'm just going to go over here and just sit in a corner, and it can't be taken out, of course, within the allotted time. Talk to me about this. Is this Virtus.pro? Is this some of their old roots, their old sort of being too slow to make a move or commit to something? Is this what really let them down here?
Well, I think this is Utopia, you know, just being on form right now. They're playing really well.
Super rude.
Like, I actually thought those two T54s of Virtus.pro would actually find Shukyu. They just missed him by, like, the skin of their teeth. I mean, it really, really was close. Anyway, Kusuk did 2.3k damage that round, hitting 4 shells. I think it might have been a little bit late. He probably should have hit some earlier shells, but that's one of the big ones there onto Mucker. Now, Potomako goes in, gets the spot, but you can already see that that timer is pretty low. They are exactly halfway through the round, and, you know, you still got so much HP for Utopia to play around with, and especially with a T54 lightweight. So really well played by Utopia. I thought Virtus.pro would be able to bring this to like a 3-1, maybe even like a 4-0 victory, but right now Utopia are back to their old form, it seems.
Okay, well, this is good from Utopia. I like their little adaptations. That's funny because it's a quality you see in our top 4, top 5 teams, right? And Utopia maybe don't have all the qualities that makes them that kind of team, but they do have that ability to adapt, to innovate. The last 2 rounds have displayed that quite well, shutting Virtus.pro out essentially. I'll be interested to see now what the approach will be because, of course, it's another defending half for them. It looks like, to me, that they're going to go for those T32s again. They stalled them out so well. Could Virtus.pro just push earlier? Is that all they need to do here?
Well, as I said, you know, I think Kusok should have hit some of those earlier shells. Like, he needed to do like 1,400 damage, which would be 2 shells hit before that actual point in the battle. He didn't do any damage until that T21 went forward. So you've already got a situation where Utopia making the first move to get the resets. That was 3.5 minutes in. So, yeah, I think Kusok needs to do more damage early on. I thought Bishop played a great game, though, from behind. I mean, he was really on point. The thing is, I thought Shukyu would be engaging onto Bishop, and I thought that was really what they were going for from Utopia. And it's just a matter of mistiming for Virtus. So they just need to get the execution slightly more oiled up, slightly more lubricated, so they can just get this round more efficiently closed out.
Well, there's a lot of responsibility on Kusok's head now, being the man who has to get those shots in. And he's definitely capable of it here as the leader of Virtus.pro, if not in-game, definitely out. More outspoken members of them as well. So let's have a look here. The setup here for Virtus.pro is again towards that top side. They seem reluctant to make the changes, and Just Cause is going to use that hill as a bit of a slip and slide as he gets his way back down after a blind shot fired from the top. So this is all strategied right now as Karitz is lit and subsequently takes a couple of big hits here. He's definitely been made to pay for getting up so far forward.
Yeah, it's definitely really, really careless play from Karitz. Like, receiving 500 damage, that's basically an M44 shot. So just bad play at the minute from Virtus.pro, just not really hitting their normal form, getting a lot of initial damage onto them, making initial mistakes, and it's going to have to be made up by Virtus.pro and really, namely Kusok in that M44. He's got to hit these early shells. He's got to do some damage, keep Utopia on their feet, and actually execute a little bit more effectively, because we've seen time and time again, Utopia are a heavy tank team. They're not the fastest team, they're not the quickest team, not the brightest team, but they have those heavy tank players, and they use them really effectively. And when you're playing like the smaller maps with the objectives fairly close, like Steps is, it can be effective, especially if you don't know how to break it down.
Virtus.pro being forced into an initial deficit here in terms of health points. It's quite significant, actually, and that is because Utopia, being that heavy tank team, have come out with those T32s here. Karitz and Breakneck are getting chunked down a little bit at the moment as they try and get those lights on towards the T32s here. And this is Kusok. He wants to try and take advantage of that. But again, the blind shots are even coming in, and Breakneck just get dinging a few shots off the top of his turret. He's been well and truly kept out of this one here. To poke up would be very, very risky. He's trying to time his pokes in between shots. He has a reasonable idea of the reload time of the T32. And off screen, Kusok just took a big shot over towards Bishu, but just missed.
You know, if I was Virtus.pro, I would screw the M44. Like, the M44 is such a bad artillery. I would just say Lorraine 15551. You're like super reliable artillery. You can hit your shells. You can do the damage, no problem at all. You can use even use HE, and you can do 400 or 500 damage per shell. And what are Utopia going to do? They're going to come charging through the middle of a field in T32s just because you got artillery. You're going to get wrecked if you do that. So pick a bigger artillery to counter these massive lineups. Yeah, okay. Like, you can't predict Utopia's going to use 2 times 4 T32s. So, you know, like 8 T32s in 2 rounds. But it's Utopia, they're a pretty predictable team. So I think just a bad artillery decision from Kusok could cost them this round, as they really don't have anything going for them right now, apart from maybe that early cap.
To be fair, Virtus.pro are being a little bit predictable in themselves here. A very similar setup to what we saw last game, and it's proving just about as successful, which isn't much. As Pavel takes another shot from those tanks, just casually poking their heads up here. Kusok not connecting on that shot either now. As shots come in towards Pavel and Karitz. Eventually, these 54 lightweights will be in the same position that Utopia's were last round. Too low to risk investing more health points in putting this pressure on towards the Polish side of Utopia. Just Cause is trying to get some shots in vain here. Mucker there. 24 damage, maybe some HG splash from Kusok. I'm not sure about that one. Even Potomako, as you said, he's a beast in that position. He's got consumables, he's got that Kohler as well. Extra view range on that T21 just makes it that much more of a dynamo in this role.
He's just been spotted, but he's really got in a great position. He's really far forwards, and you have to see the rest of Virtus.pro just scamper away. Potomaka actually now in a position to challenge Breakneck.
Why is he even still alive? He gets across now, one hit from Breakneck. He does get finished off by Kusok at rather close range here, but that's not where Kusok's shots need to be going towards. They need to be slowing down these big T32 convoy, chunking them out, getting rid of that, you know, that steel wall that Utopia are bringing in towards this game. And Breakneck goes down there. That's Papa just angling up and getting the shot here. Virtus.pro, it's a war of attrition, and they are losing badly.
Yeah, this is really bad news for Virtus.pro. Like, they really have, they're really running out of options. You can see Utopia just really wanting to win this game as much as possible, trying to get everything they can do. Blind shotting out towards Kusok in his M44. They got 2 minutes to do something. Last time Virtus.pro had about 2 minutes to walk in. They are a much bigger advantage in the last round. Utopia now sitting on about double the hit points of Virtus. So in a firefight situation, even when those T32s having to rotate those turrets, Virtus.pro are going to be a significant disadvantage, too much of a disadvantage to win.
It's worth noting, this is Virtus.pro's last game of the regular season before they go into the playoffs. This can't give you much confidence as a team who once used to be top 3, top 2, top 1 even. Right now, they just seem to be unable to make ends meet, and they've allowed Utopia to do this to them. They've allowed them to chip away at them bit by bit, and now they're starting to crumble. The cracks are appearing now in the white work, and Bishop now is going to get pushed onto by Shukyu in just a moment here. These T54 lightweights just lower and lower as the game has gone over. The capture process, though, is ticking along nicely, but still, nothing you can't reset. Wicked gets a shot towards Just Cause. That completely scuppers Virtus.pro their progress on towards the cap here. Pavel won't even bother. He's going to get taken down. Utopia, they're done playing with their food. Now they're going to have a meal for themselves.
Yeah, brilliant stuff from Utopia. Just the T32s are just an unmovable wave of shells and armor and damage. You can't take care of that. And you can see Shukyu's going to have a good, easy time against Bishop here in his T54 lightweight, leaving just Karitz up in the north.
You can see Virtus.pro just curling up into the fetal position and taking it in this one. Steps has not been impressive for them at all. 1 to 3 on this map here. Virtus.pro, they keep doing this to me, man. Like every time I hype them up, I'm like, Virtus.pro, the Bears are back. They're cold as ice. They're gonna roll out and do some real work. And then Utopia's like, well, actually. And they, take some rounds off them like this. It's ridiculous.
What should I say?
Yeah, well, but did you commit to? You did. She said
it was 95% on the vote.
No, it was on the vote, 95%.
But I think you committed as well. You did say
Well,
I think Virtus Pro are definitely
I said it looks very solid for Virtus Pro. That's
that's
true.
just
That was
having
my
it
fault. I'm
Looks very solid.
damn.
Okay.
Again, and I'm not learning
fine.
of my mistakes.
Well, to be fair, the vote was wildly in favour of Virtus Pro
And
here.
still
So
is.
it's you can be forgiven
87.
for putting your eggs in the VP basket right now. I think.
I mean, if we look on the
you
paper,
can.
it's Utopia
Yeah.
losing four matches against good teams, and Virtus Pro winning. So what is the closest assumption you can make at this point?
Well, it's quite simple. Utopia are just good at playing against teams like Virtus Pro. They know them quite well. I think their strategy, though, is in between rounds. It's not like set plays. There's not things that they're straining before these games. These guys are seriously experienced. They've been around for a long time. They really have. They haven't had the most stellar season last season, and this season looked like they were going in the same direction, a decline sort of after a halfway point. But these guys know their tanks. In heavy tanks, you really, not many teams can sort of beat them, and they are making these little innovations, like you said, these changes and adaptations, and Virtus Pro don't know how to respond.
It seems to me like Utopia, they just won it on the attacking side. Like, well when Virtus Pro on the attacking side, when Utopia on the defensive side. Because Virtus Pro have been really solid on the attack. They've been going at it all season, winning it, won about 80% this season. And, you know, Utopia didn't give them a round. So, like, as soon as you do that, you know that you can beat Virtus Pro on the defensive side because of that light lineup. So Utopia just worked to Virtus Pro's weaknesses, took advantage of them, broke them down, and managed to walk away with a 3-1 victory. And that was Virtus Pro's map.
The Virtus Pro, obviously, they can't make it back, so they can't drop any lower than 5th place right now. Utopia is in 6th, and the gap is too big, but still, this is going to hurt them moving in towards the playoffs, Millie.
Absolutely, but people, the vote is still open and it will close until we enter the second map, which is after a short break. So head over to our Facebook page and get your last minute votes, and maybe you will have a chance of winning a bonus code. Usually I say get in as early as possible, but maybe getting into this vote a bit later will pay off. So head over to our Facebook page, as said, get your votes and vote for your favorite team by clicking the team logo and then predicting the exact score. And when you're lucky and get chosen as one of the winners, you can win awesome bonus codes containing 500 gold and 8 days of premium. And also, I'd like to invite you to tell us what's on your mind by using the hashtag WGLEU over at Twitter. And of course, make sure to follow those both platforms to stay informed and up to date regarding everything of our league, the teams, and maybe rewatch some pro production highlights we have posted on our Facebook page, which are pretty awesome. So people, 5 minutes of break, check those pages out, and then hopefully see you back.
Welcome back, everyone, to the WGL EU Match Week 11. Day one, of course, and right now we're in our first match of the day, and the Polar Bears starting to fall through the ice a bit.
Yeah, they're getting wrecked at the moment. They're 3-1 down against Utopia, losing both attacking rounds and one defensive round. No, winning both a defensive round and one attacking round.
Yep.
So they're doing really well for themselves right now. Steps was also Virtus.pro's map choice, so technically right now Utopia are in the best place it can be, of course, apart from winning those first 4 rounds in a row. But you really can't ask for more when you're playing up against Virtus.pro.
Utopia are just playing really smart in general. I mean, we've said this about them before, but this is clever. They're making these adaptations. I guess they're noticing where there are deficiencies in their own tactics, and they're changing them in between the rounds. This is something that even Virtus.pro are doing right now. They seem so committed to just doing the same old thing over and over again, which I believe is a very definition of insanity if they still expect to win while doing the same thing.
Yeah, that's actually been a problem with Virtus.pro and a lot of teams this season. They've been doing the same thing again and again and again, and they've been losing again and again. It's like Penta in the first few match days where we saw them play mines and super aggressive. Every team was absolutely destroying them. And this is really what Virtus.pro has been doing. But then again, you occasionally see that time when a team has a really good tactic. They know it works. A couple of little factors just goes around, a couple of variables they don't account for. They lose it, and then they go into the next round, fix it, and they manage to win it. So you've got that mentality. In my opinion, you should always go for what you know as opposed to destroying everything you've planned for in the air.
Well, let's see now, of course, as we move on to a bit more of a city map, a bit of a closer one, of course, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be Himmelsdorf.
Himmelsdorf, a small city map. The teams start the battle in opposite corners. Both bases are located close to each other, but in a way that you can't stay on the defensive all the time. The main attack routes pass through the hill, the alley and the railroad. Heavy tanks with powerful guns run the show here. However, much depends on the light tanks. Usually they go for the base capture.
All right, Utopia, we've spoken about their proclivity to take those heavy tank lineups, and it looks like they're not disappointing at all. But Virtus.pro also following suit.
Yeah, I think these two teams are not that dissimilar on this map. I mean, they're a little bit unpredictable. They're not great. You've played it quite a few times, 17 to 21 times a season a piece. So they got a little bit of experience, about 40%, 47% win ratio for both these two. So I don't think this is going to be a too bad a matchup at all. You can see Utopia going aggressive down that 1-3 line, a pretty standard tactic on this map, trying to get that early damage, see if they can catch Virtus.pro out. And to be fair to Virtus, I think they've been improving a lot on this map. I mean, they've gone from losing to Synergy, losing a few rounds here and there, to actually coming back and being pretty proficient on this one. As you can see, Karitz is getting those early spots out, is trying to find where Utopia are actually playing towards.
Now, we obviously see Utopia, as you said, out on the western side of this map, and sometimes teams on the attacking side see this and go for an aggressive push down the 8 line, but Virtus.pro not going for that one at all. It looks like they might actually want to try and meet Utopia head on here, over towards the southern side of the map. Is this wise?
I think it is. I mean, Virtus.pro are always good head on. They're really good in those firefight situations. The problem is right now, of course, Utopia have the better angles. They've also know exactly where Virtus.pro are. Like, they're in a good situation where they can make the peaks, they can do the damage, and Virtus.pro have to get into that situation themselves. So technically, Utopia will be slightly ahead, but Virtus.pro doing a good job of holding the angles, making sure that Utopia are locked down. They can't move, they can't go forwards, they can't go backwards, they can't peek, allowing Virtus.pro to edge forwards, but also keep your eyes out towards that right side. You've got the MX-12 ton there, and you've also got a 5100. So actually, Virtus.pro are coming from both angles, and if Utopia overextend onto this push on towards the left side, it could be bad for them.
We've seen this done time and time again on Himmelsdorf. So 5100s always use the hill because they can roll off it so quickly. Whether they need to go north or south, it doesn't matter. But there goes Wicked. He drops as Kusok puts a shell right in towards him. A little bit too cheeky was the Polish player there, pushing out on that 59-16. So there's that flexibility, that utility being taken away from Utopia early on. Karix now knows that he's free to roam. He knows that 59-16 was spotted and removed from the map. He can now start to try and get in under Utopia's skin and see what he can dig up.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the big problem, in my opinion, which Virtus.pro had against both Synergy and Dig on this map was just like they couldn't find a good angle. They came from a few areas, like they tried that western side with the one cap, and and Ding were like straight away on it. They were right behind them, doing the damage, getting into those situations. I think VirtusPro just need to have a few more angles covered and come from a few more directions, as opposed to just sitting in one place, waiting for the other team to go forwards, or maybe just relying on luck in some respects. But they've done very well. They've taken down that tier 6 at the beginning, and now they're trying to push that advantage. You
can see Kusok, Bishop and Breakneck coming forward, and even Karid's getting his hands messy on that northern cap. He's been forced to back away, and Utopia reluctant, very, very reluctant to pull off of that western side of the map, and that's just prompted a move from VirtusPro towards the north. They'll have the overmatch, at least for now. Utopia are going to be bringing their forces together in the south for a bit of a push of their own, but I have to hope it's going to be in a timely fashion if you're a fan of this Polish team, because right now VirtusPro moving in towards that cap. Kusok gets double tapped on the cross, goes down. 786 health shaved off him. And Breakneck also moves up to the hull down spot on the window. VirtusPro have moved in. They put up the picket fence and they started the cap.
This is very good stuff from VirtusPro. I mean, this is kind of reminds me of 742 tactic. But the thing is, you can see Utopia are coming from that 8 line, but you got an IS3 there of Coca-Cola who will just be there to try and stop them, to slow them down, and it could work.
And Mac Money does take a hit for trying to get on towards that road here. In fact, with 7 seconds left, the resets have to come in thick and fast right now. As VirtusPro able to tick those up, and I don't really know if there's an opportunity. Coca-Cola has got 4 tanks busy just because he's on that road, and Utopia let it slip. Yep. That's the win to VirtusPro. It was good positioning, it was a smart response, and Utopia, we say a lot about their adaptability, but sometimes they are just a little bit slow to move inside the round.
Yeah, they were exactly. Sometimes they just need to be in there and they need to think about what they're doing before it's already happened. You could see like Utopia, they were in a good position to receive that 1 to 3 line push. They had tanks set up there. But the thing is, first of all, they lost to tier 6 Wicked, who could have been the one to actually get the resets. Second thing is, they came from an angle which would have, of course, worked out very well for them if they had like another 20 seconds time. Yep. But because VirtusPro had like 5 tanks in the cap, they didn't have any time. They had a lot of the capping points spread out through the tanks of VirtusPro. So, you know, Utopia really weren't left with much. You can see the 5100s barreling down the 8 line. Coca-Cola in the most perfect position to receive first from the D line, but also from the 8 line. And he's just an absolute linchpin right now, keeping Utopia busy. Papa and Shukyu do as much as they possibly can, but it's not the tanks they can shoot which have the cap points.
Again, you know, Utopia, there was a distinct moment where they could have made one of 2 decisions. They could have just gone back up the western side. They could have fought over the D line and the B line, standard stuff, right? Instead, they try to, first they regroup their forces. So they get everyone together, the front tank literally stops, they get everyone in a group, and then they push down the 8 line, because obviously they want to be able to have that overmatch against whoever's there. But it's such a simple strategy to have Coca-Cola on that corner. We saw him surrounded by 4 tanks. He's laughing all the way to the bank right now because these 4 tanks are having absolutely nil impact over the cap. That was honestly, it's quick when you got 4 tanks on there. 3 tanks I think is the maximum. It's down to 25 seconds, you know. And the resets will come in, but Kusok, I think, and Breakneck maybe got across the face of that capture point in towards where that window was. They could just sit tight and sort of wait there and keep ticking those points up.
Yeah, it's just super simple stuff from VirtusPro. Very quick. It's good to see they're actually using those caps. Like I've always said, like VirtusPro, they can be a bit of a shaky team when they go to that western side, but they made the right decision. They tried to go for the engage against Utopia, they kept them there, then they retracted back, went up to that eastern side, went straight through the middle, and you got to remember as well, Utopia got the information quite early on. They knew VirtusPro were pushing through the middle. So as you said, they could have gone for that western side, could have gone up again, gone for more of a standard engage, but I think they thought they wouldn't have to deal with 3, 4, 5 tanks in the cap. Instead, they thought maybe we're going to have to deal with 1 or 2. We have a little bit more time to play with, and if Coca-Cola wasn't there, I don't even think they would have got back in time. But yeah, even those 2 IS3s that are up north could have been in a situation where they were pushing forwards, but they weren't. Like, they wouldn't even, if they pushed forwards, they would just die. Like, there was no other option. They might have got a reset, but I don't think even then the rest of the forces of Utopia would have had any time. And
it's ironic, really, because a team like VirtusPro, teams in their position, other teams that we've seen before, your Pentas, your Dings, they would have pushed quicker. They would have gone down that 8 line far quicker than VirtusPro did. We saw them head back towards the south and play defensively. So they just sat there. So Utopia had the time to go, okay, VirtusPro is set up here in the south part, so we can't push over straight across onto them. Why would you stay there? Why are they staying there? Why can't they pull back and go for something else? You know, probe in a different way. A defensive team on Himmelsdorf always has to be aggressive to a degree here, but they just sat there. They just poke corners, you know, like just try and, you know, get some cheeky shots. And VirtusPro were like, well, if you're not going to do anything, we're just going to go cap.
Well, Well, they had Virtus.pro in a good position in that location when they're playing defensively. They would have won that round if Virtus.pro pushed that western side, and Virtus.pro have been pushing that western side consistently. They've been failing at it consistently, so I think you just saw Utopia thinking, well, we can stay here. But I think Utopia got a little bit too big for their boots for that 8-line push. They should have gone for the northern side, just gone straight up back, use a 50-100 to get into the engage. But you got to think of it like this. Virtus.pro were in such a good location, like pushing straight through the middle, that even if those tanks had managed to get up north, the execution from Utopia would have had to be absolutely on point to actually for them to actually go and win that round. So I just think super quick reaction for Virtus.pro, getting in good positions, doing the damage, managing to keep themselves safe, and keeping Utopia guessing, making sure that they second guess themselves, actually managed to get in that round.
Pavel didn't even have to fire a shot. So I think he didn't do much at all. He just sort of sat. There wasn't much that he already had to do. He was up on the hill, just watching that one there, and that was it. I mean, most of Virtus.pro had already pushed in and made the execution. They kept Pavel back from that one for quite some time there. So Virtus.pro had all the chips they needed in place. They didn't even have to use one of arguably the best players in the league on one of the scariest tanks there. So, you know, Wicked went down early as well.
That's a big point. Like, Wicked not being able to challenge, not being on the map to take down Karitz. Like, he should have been there. And you could just... They lost him for a stupid reason. You know, Kusuk just peeked, hit a brilliant shell with the IS-3, took him down. Like, again, I think Himmelsdorf, same as T742, it's all about those light tanks. It's about the 5916. World Tanks is an information game. And Utopia needed that information more early on. They needed to have that extra dimension of pressure. Usually that 5916 is the one that goes up the 8-line. It comes from a different angle. Whilst the heavier tanks, they go for the more standard engagement so you can get the resets as quickly as possible for the light tank to come around and go for the actual bigger resets. And
it was a very strange positioning from Wicked there as well. I don't really know if he had any business really being on the 3-line at that time. He could have been further out wide or maybe even towards the center of the map. Nonetheless, hopefully Utopia now looking to sort of wipe the slate clean of that last one here as we head into the second round on Himmelsdorf. Again, Utopia will be defending here, and Virtus.pro looking to make another attacking round work.
Yeah, they really need to as well. I mean, they're still one round down. Obviously, Utopia after that first map, if you missed it, are significantly ahead in a lot of respects. They really do need to get the next round on the board to actually even it all up. If Utopia get another round as well, it will be going to a tiebreaker, which Virtus.pro don't want at this point. They want to be going to the playoffs in the best form possible. Third place would be great, so they do play Utopia there again. You know, Virtus.pro not of the offline finals would be a big shame, and the first time in the Wargaming League history for Europe. So that's really what they're playing for right now. If they can do that, we'll have to see, but a very similar start as last round.
Absolutely. Virtus.pro, again, out towards this eastern side of the map, and you could see they're using those two IS-3s and they're pushing down a little bit earlier this time. They haven't actually gained much information about the positioning of Utopia, with the exception of Shukyu being lit. He's over at D3, and that's probably spots coming in from the top of the hill, care of Karit. So here's the push in now for Virtus.pro. Early, they're getting up and towards this position. Shukyu's forced to back up there as a shot comes bouncing off the front of his hull. And Virtus.pro, only Just Cause has really been lit right now, so for the most part, they've gone undetected. Seeing Just Cause in that 5100 going up the 8-line will surely, though, start to ring some alarm bells for the Polish.
Yeah, let's see what Utopia does this time. You can see they got the 5100s retracting right down towards that southern church even, and the IS-3 going through the 8-line. So immediately you can see Utopia doing exactly the same thing they did last time, but they are in a slightly better position. They've also got the T-32 of Papa in a more forward spotting position, so we can get the resets onto that side Kappa, but still it will require Utopia to come from behind to get the actual resets and the real damage.
Unexi being brought in as a sub for Pavel here and given the same job to watch that hill with the 5100. He does get some good damage towards Potomaco now, and that's kind of slowed things up a little bit here for Utopia. They could have just stuck to that 8-line, but they didn't want to risk being bottlenecked again by Coca-Cola up in that corner. They're trying to go across the field. It didn't work out. It was a great read there by Virtus.pro to stop them from making that approach. And the cap, again, is underway. Papa, obviously, he's playing that T-32 in this game, and he's in that nice little hold-down spot where the window is on the northern side of the map. He has been getting a couple of resets in here. And Virtus.pro just have the one IS-3 on cap for now. They probably sense that a fight's about to happen.
Yeah, and Bishop's definitely in trouble. If McMoney, Shukyu, and Potomaco decide to engage on him, Bishop could easily fall. But also Potomac has to be careful. I guess the one thing which VirtusPro really has going for them is that they got the hill control. The new Nexi in that 5100 has actually gone down south, trying to get that 5916 down. And you can see that Virtus is very well aware that Utopia are in a better position to get the resets. And that's why they haven't engaged everything towards that cap. Probably more because Papa's there than anything else. As Wicked in that 5916 finally does fall, that's going to free up the 8 line for Nexi to engage.
Papa has been forced to push out from that fairly safe spot here to get up close and personal with Kusok. He did get that little reset, and that's going to force Kusok now to go straight for him. And the IS-3 generally has the advantage in that head-to-head with the T-32. Papa takes a big hit just to prove my point. And now McMoney's going to get pushed onto here as well. Shots coming in from Karitz on the top of the hill. He gets chunked out. 914, 1210 taken right off him now. Very, very rough times for the Polish player now as he tries to back away with only a little bit of health, and Just Cause will get the finish on him. That's exactly how you play an overmatch right now. VirtusPro look to want to make the third round here. 3-3 will be a great result for them now. There's Muka and Bishu. They're getting disintegrated now. Bishu goes down. Muka now is only a 2-shot, and Breakneck gets a good roll to finish him off. Chukyu and Potomako somehow still alive on the other side of the wall in that IS-3 is non-factor right now. And Coca-Cola and Breakneck teaming up towards Chukyu. Papa does go down, is not able to take out Kusok in their head-to-head. And he will be down to 255, but that's enough for him to do the work that he needs to do. And Chukyu will go down here, stuck in this 1v3.
Yeah, this is game over from pretty much the get-go for Utopia. They lost so much damage when New Nexi was on the hill and Kreitz was there supporting him. And then New Nexi played a really good game, stepping up in the pretty big boots of Povel, to be honest. Obviously, the ex-Synergy player, ex-School Bus player, moved over to VirtusPro when they had that crushing defeat in Season 4. So he will find the final kill. It'll be Potomako, and VirtusPro will even things up here 3-3.
Yeah, honestly, Utopia haven't looked like they've really known what to do on these last two. It's so funny. This is about as two-faced as a team that we've ever seen. Yeah. You know, in terms of their overall performance in terms of the season. So it's from the start of the first half to the second half. Between maps even. Sometimes even between rounds here as well. They're very, very hard to keep our finger on. I said earlier on in the season they're one of the hardest teams to predict. Their consistency was only really governed by the matchups there. They weren't getting good results against top teams. It was just the sort of lower level ones here. And again, they struggled to make ends meet. You know, this is... Look, Kusok knows what he can do here. He just pushes on to Papa because Utopia have already been choked up, bottlenecked in the same spot as last round.
This is already a loss by this time. There's no way Utopia can win this. Unless VirtusPro screw up monumentally, or Utopia really find a great way to crush onto something VirtusPro hasn't considered. Now, I think the biggest problem here again is that Utopia is pushing from the south. You know, VirtusPro is thinking, okay, so we can do what we did last time by pushing a lot of tanks in the cap, but Utopia is going to be ready for that, and they were ready for that. They were a lot more aggressive, a lot quicker to go from that middle area towards the south and then up through the 8 line, through the center. And they knew that they would probably be able to get the resets. Papa as well, aggressive in that T-32 and A5. So VirtusPro, let's set up a trap. Let's get the damage done here. Let's kill Utopia via just damaging them, taking them down. So New Nexi on the hill, Kreitz there, supporting each other, doing good damage, holding the 8 line as much as they can to receive the other tanks that are not in the center from Utopia. So really like the overall play. New Nexi, again, we haven't seen him much this season because he's a substitute, 2.2k and then AMX 5100. So really good job by him.
New Nexi and Bishop now were two tanks that really made Utopia's strategy ineffective. It was the same thing they tried as the first round on Himmelsdorf here. So VirtusPro, again, had the same things in place. New Nexi would set up on the hill. Now, if you have a 5100 on the hill, you can still go via the 8 line and not be shot. The problem is that Utopia didn't want to be bottlenecked on the 8 line by someone like Bishop or Coca-Cola it was in the first round. So they said, stuff it. Let's go via the field. We can get a pincer maneuver on towards that IS-3 on the corner, but there's a 5100 up on the hill. New Nexi did a ridiculous amount of damage. The whole reason that Potomako was a one-shot by the time he got across the middle of the map, because New Nexi was just giving him hell the whole time. Yeah. So Utopia, again, running into the same things that tripped them up in the first map and doing the same thing. This is like the VirtusPro of steps.
Yeah, and also, you know, VirtusPro seeing where Utopia are weak, so they wanted to exploit Potomako's low HP by taking out Muka in that IS-3. He was like the one going aggressive around the corner. They tracked him, they took him down. So like it was good damage actually from Virtus, I have to say it. But now they move on to the defensive side and the attacking side, which is harder. Even with the changes to Himmelsdorf, it's a lot harder to play the attacking side. We see about 42% of the 42% of the time teams actually win on the attacking side, and 58% going towards the defenders. So that's like about like Season 5 in the old Himmelsdorf, is about 68 to 66% chance of the defender to win. So you can see there's like a 10% difference, which is a little bit less than I thought. I thought it would be like a 15% difference because of the cat moving like a couple of hundred meters towards the right, and where that house was added as well a little bit earlier on. But still, Utopia has a good chance.
Absolutely. Now, obviously, moving on towards the defensive side. The Utopia are in 6th place on 14 points. Virtus.pro in 5th on 21. That's how big the gap is between our top and bottom halves of the ladder. But Penta and Ding are watching this game, licking their lips. You got to understand, Penta only be 1 point behind Utopia. If they get a win in their game this week and Utopia lose this one, they're going to leapfrog them into 6th place, which is massive, which is super important. Penta have had a tough season so far, but they can still bring it in the playoffs if they can make their way past here. So this is an important match. In fact, almost every single match from here on out is of great importance. Remember, where you are on the ranking on the ladder will determine your seeding in those playoffs, which is just, it's super important. You can fly under the radar for most of the season and then come out strong in the playoffs and have a huge impact there. But here we go, Oliver, now. Utopia starting to see this potential victory slip away, but they are able to be on the other side of things now as well as attackers.
Yeah, you're 100% right. If Virtus.pro win this, it's good for Penta, it's good for Ding. I mean, especially for Penta, they've got to play Wuso, which haven't been on form this season. So, like, if Utopia win, it's super bad for them. If Utopia lose, they can still actually have a chance to go in the playoffs. So that's all good, but not good for the Polish team. Let's see what they can do this time, of course, on the attack. And I don't know, like, Virtus.pro looking good for them. Utopia, let's see what they can do. Can they go aggressive? Can they be the one to surprise and be, a 2-rounder on the attacking side? That's very hard stuff on Himmelsdorf.
And already Virtus.pro have not committed nearly as much to that western side of the map as Utopia have. They literally went to maybe E1, E2 and said, yep, all right, nothing to do here. They fire up their jetpacks and get the heck out. They're moving back towards the top side of the map because they know Utopia are going to go for that sort of northern push. They know exactly how it's going to go down.
This is what Utopia does all the time. They love this 8-line push. And this maybe is the reason why they've only won like 20%, 25% on the attacking rounds. They are really predictable. And on maps which a lot of the teams don't know, like your ghost towns, it can work, which, let's be honest, Ghost Town's also a city map, so theoretically, you should be able to take the skills from that map and put them straight onto Himmelsdorf. But of course, when you've been playing 5-6 seasons almost now of a map, you really do get to know it inside out. And I can guarantee you that every single player from Virtus.pro will perform better on Himmelsdorf than any other player in the whole world, which is obviously not one of the top teams like Virtus.pro, like Na'Vi or School Bus, or Hellraisers, or not School Bus, obviously not existing anymore, but Team Supreme. So you can see how the team's abilities on certain maps do translate, as Wicked does start the normal cap out on that northern side.
He does just snake his way onto there. Just the one tank for the moment. And already Virtus.pro responding to this one. They said, all right, well, we're going to just try and assert ourselves here and move across. So they head across the 5 line. There's no one on that street. They're going to head straight on down it here. So Virtus.pro inching their way closer to Utopia's forces. And it's really not much to write home about if you do have this MT25 starting off the cap. It's a long duration here for Virtus.pro. They can sort of worry about the peripheral aspects of this map here. But Breakneck takes a big double hit. Does send one back in the direction of Potomac, but still crippling that IS-3 of Virtus.pro. There's Coca-Cola as well as Bishop, I think. Just start to group up a bit here. The push is imminent.
So you got Potomaco and Muka basically there just to keep Bishop and Coca-Cola at bay. And then you got the real damaging force of the 2 IS-3s and the 5100 just in front of you to the left. So I think, if Virtus.pro if Virtus.pro do manage to get past Potomaco and Muka, or just Potomaco, they'll head around that corner and they get absolutely wrecked. We've seen that time and time again. It's just not going to work out for them, especially considering Breakneck just moved off that position he was holding in the DC area. So Virtus.pro will need to come from a different angle. They still got Creets towards that right side. He's going to be a big factor. If Virtus can keep the turrets of Utopia trained towards them, he will have a nice way to slip in and get the resets on Wicked.
The fact that Kusok was able to push across the face of these 4 tanks on your screen to get up next to that church is ridiculous. Just the one shot coming from one IS-3 on towards him. He'd be laughing all the way to the bank about that one. It's a minimum amount of damage to take considering the risk involved with that kind of maneuver. And now Kusok is able to set up so there will be crossfire if Utopia are ballsy enough to push on towards this one. Kusok might get focused down, but there are 2 5100s, excuse me, and an IS-3 ready to put some damage down as well. If Virtus.pro want to push in, again, they can do it with a two-pronged assault. And even Karitz is up in the background as well. He'll be trying to get some shots, some resetting shots from the 12-ton. With IS-3 side on, well, it's not that hard.
Well, also, you know, Shuku did a good job, though. He's blocking for Wicked, who's got the most cap points. Karitz has taken him out. Kusok even just takes him out. So let's see if Karitz can actually get any reset points here. I'm not sure. Like, that IS-3 can bounce a lot from the lower penetration tanks, and AMX 12-ton is one of those. So let's see what he can do. But the cap is not dangerously low. Virtus.pro are coming from the side. They're coming from many angles. Once they got that kill on the MT25, they are going to go and engage.
We saw there was a reset shot come in there from Karitz. Did manage to connect onto one of those IS-3s. Utopia now thinking about the fight that they have to take. A big shot comes in towards Mucker. Why? Why are they forgetting Kusok right now? I don't know. This guy is just an absolute dynamo in an IS-3, and he's just putting a lot of hurt out on towards Utopia right now. They're fighting on two fronts. They're going to be sandwiched in right now. They have to push forward. There is no choice, and here they come straight on towards that cap. Pavel and Coca-Cola will be there to meet them as well. Shots are coming in from that hill, and Utopia, they must walk into this one here, but it's a very slim chance for them to get the advantage in this particular fight. Kusok is still alive. Papa went down on the push in. Pavel is at his leisure to let every single one of those autoloader shells fire, and he does straight in towards the Halabishi. Now Shuki was quite low as well. Capture not even a factor right now. Utopia have to win this fight, and they're not going to. Just Cos is going to come up. He's got 6 in the chamber with his 5100, and Mac Money and Shuki have realized they have made a grave error. But what choice do they have?
Even with mistakes from Virtus.pro, they're so far ahead in this round, they can easily just breeze past them. Like Coca-Cola being super passive in that round, unnecessary for them considering how far ahead their team was. But it still will be a win, as it looks like Karitz will even find that last shell onto Mucker. Yes, he does have it, of course, playing an autoloader. And Virtus.pro picking up their 3rd round in a row now against Utopia.
Yeah, I mean, Utopia are looking uninspired from a map that wasn't even their choice, by the way. Steps was Virtus.pro's choice.
Yeah.
Virtus.pro's choice, they looked like they had more strategy, more strategic depth and capacity on a map that wasn't even their choice. This Himmelsdorf play from them has been lackluster, to say the least.
Yeah, throughout the season, we've been seeing the teams which have picked up the map. They said, okay, we want to play Ghost Town, we want to play Lakeville, we want to play Steps. They go in and win those rounds normally. And then it's on the other map that we really get to see like the struggle as the team that's behind tries to come back on the map they chose. So this is pretty unusual. This is like a kind of a switcheroo of the normal struggle these teams, these kind of middle tier top teams have. But anyway, Kusok doing 2.3k damage there in his IS-3, Coca-Cola doing 2,000 damage and almost losing no hit points at all. So great play by Virtus.pro. Let's be honest, with Karitz in that right side angle, like there's so little chance that Utopia can actually win this. He can go from multiple angles, get the resets, gets the damage done, and with that brilliant side shot from Kusok, and you can see the IS-3s are allowed to get into that middle area, which means they can go hull down, they can do damage to Mucker and Bishu, and great move by Pavel and Just Cause in a minute just to head straight back through the middle to support the 2 IS-3s that are in cap.
Utopia outclassed here, and we spoke about this last week, and we often, wonder how often is it that a team can come back from this 3-1 deficit. Well, this is probably going to happen right now. If Virtus.pro continue the way they are, the reverse sweep, the reverse suplex, as it were, is a possibility here for Virtus.pro. They go 4-0 on Himmelsdorf. It wouldn't shock me at all. So far, I mean, they've been very, very good on both sides of the map here. They seem to have a very measured and confident play style. And Utopia just throwing stuff at Virtus.pro, just trying to hope that something sticks.
Yeah, they're really just not working at all. I'm even wondering if Virtus.pro just forced with the map picks that Steps was picked up, and then Himmelsdorf would be the second map, because you can ban a map or two, you can ban a couple of maps. So you've got a situation where you can say, okay, we know this is our strongest map, we know that's your strongest map, we know this is our weakest map, we can have a good idea what your weakest map is. So you're just trying to ban out their strongest map and ban out your weakest map at the same time. So you got all these kind of mind games with the pick and bans, which you guys don't get to see, and which happened before the games, which really do play a big part as well.
Let's see just how big a part it has played here. Let's see if Virtus.pro cheekily are going to get the 4-0 on Utopia's map of choice here. Any changes here? I mean, Utopia now, they're up against the wall. This is do or die. Match point comes up. Have they changed much at all?
Not really. I mean, we got a pretty standard setup from both teams. I'm a little bit curious why Utopia don't pick an AMX Waffentrager. Like on the defense, on the attacking side even, it can be pretty effective. We've seen even a couple of them. And if you can get them to engage really well, they can be a big part of your IS3 kind of force. But initial damage goes to Wicked. That's not great. Good pick up there by VPro at the beginning to put the initial pressure on. Now, the thing is, because Utopia did so well on steps, they're still in an okay position. 2 points for VPro wouldn't be good. And if they can force a tiebreaker situation, I think the Polish team will be pretty happy with that one. You mentioned already, 21 points is in 5th place, 14 points for Utopia in 6th place. There is really no chance that VPro is going to go down. The only problem is Utopia, they'll really rely on other results like Penta versus Wusa to actually see them going towards the finals.
Yeah, as you said, this game means relatively little to VPro in terms of their overall standing. So really, it's just about making sure they can look over the map. Who would they rather go up against in these playoffs? Who are they feeling more confident to play? And maybe they'll try and, get the win over Utopia here and just really crush them. I mean, at the end of the day, VPro, they said, Utopia is their team that we don't relax. We can't relax against these guys. We still need to be rolling out with as much precision and caution, more likely, as possible. But here's a push on towards the cap here. The double IS3s, Potomako and Muka, two, honestly, of Utopia's best players this season, have been enjoyable to watch. Let's see if they can make the impact now where it really matters. This is do or die right now as Coca-Cola and Bishop have actually, chosen to sort of eschew the protection of that window area. They're going to push out on towards the cap here, feeling that they can just sort of go for the kill here on Utopia if they push across.
I like this, though. I think Bishop can get on the behind of Kusok quite effectively, and if he goes too far forwards, he might just take a couple of shells from the IS3s, but I think Kusok's aware of that. He's aware that that A line is taken up, and Povel's there in support. So actually, this is still going the way for VPro, and Utopia really need to go for a move. They need to keep this under control, as Kusok does take one from behind.
Papa is about to come endangered species there. Did I just see what I thought I did? Coca-Cola bouncing off his own teammate of Bishop. I'm not sure here, but Papa only took one hit there,
and that shell hit the top of the castle.
Yep, that was a very, very high fly. There's Kusok now sort of wanting to trade out a little bit against Bishop and Wicked. If he can get that MT25 off the table, it would be handy, but he does take 2 big hits and is forced to maybe reconsider that one, as Muka and Potomako will be looking for anything, a track or any part of his sort of superstructure they're poking out in the distance. As Wicked now is going to add his weight as well to this capture process, and this is going to really speed things up here for the IS3s of VPro. They must commit now. They must make a move. Coca-Cola and Bishop weren't convincing, pushing down on towards that D line. They didn't take out Papa. They didn't even push on towards him, so they have to think about something else. Do they push now? Will it be too late? Papa picks up Karitz there, and some utility for VPro going down the drain. Kusok is forced to push out there and get shot just to get that reset, and time is ticking down now. Just Cause has to go in towards Muka and Potomako. This is working more for Utopia than it ever has before. As Just Cause is going to miss his first shot. He will get the reset, and that has bought enough time for the IS3s of VPro to get up behind on that 7-line road.
But Potomako just went the wrong direction. He should have gone straight forwards to take down Just Cause or Kusok. None of that has happened, and Bishu's trying left to pick up the pieces.
Bishu cannot finish Kusok right now. He is out of ammunition. Kusok will have the reload long before he does there, so he's a non-factor now. Bishu may be hoping that someone can bail him out, whether it's Mac Money or Shukyu, good forbid. But no, he will go down. Kusok gets his shot. The Utopia, they've messed up yet again. They realize that now as 5 tanks of VPro are still standing, and they're all the big ones as well. The beefy ones, the hard hitters, and VPro are coming in to finish off this meal. It's going to be a 4-0 to them on Himmelsdorf. A massive turnaround on towards Utopia, and this is just an absolute capitulation, a choke, if you would, from Utopia on their map of choice.
Yeah, this is game over. I mean, this is absolute brutal domination here by VPro. They look like they're on form on these city maps. They're playing to their strengths at the end of the day. VPro are so experienced in this map. When they can just go back to what they know, they seem to perform at an absolute par. And Shukyu in that T54 lightweight, which of course we didn't mention, was an interesting pickup by Utopia, playing him hull down on that hill, trying to do as much damage as possible, but it just wasn't enough. And he could be there to try and keep VPro at bay, but when Virtus wanted to push with those IS3s, there's nothing he could do.
That's right. And you can see VPro, this map is played so frequently. These guys have played it for years now. Yes, the format's changed. Yes, this map has been altered slightly, but VPro have a flowchart. They really do. A mental flowchart. It's like, if team does this, do this. If they do that, do something else. They always go for this push here. Utopia, they've counted out their little cheeky little push on towards the cap here, and they come down from that 7-line road. They have 4 angles of shots towards these 2 IS3s. Muka gets wrecked. Of course, there are shots coming out from the 5100 off towards the side. I think that was Pobble, in fact. So, really, Utopia, they're pushing into this same sort of set play from Virtus.pro. Virtus.pro, long before this match started, already had them counted.
Yeah, I think Virtus.pro, at the beginning of the season, knew how to counter that kind of tactic. I think, you know, if Utopia wanted to win that one, they should have tried it from a different angle, come onto that 1-to-3 line, try and go for that push-up. Because Virtus.pro just nailed them. Like, there was not those rounds, those 4 rounds weren't even close. Virtus.pro just came away with the wins every single time, and it will put them up into 3rd place. Of course, all the other teams below them have a chance to take them over if they still have a game left, which they all do. But you know, if we think about it, Ding now has a chance in the next matchup of Ding versus No Mercy, which is their next matchup today, to take 6th place. But then Penta versus Wusa on Thursday has a chance to knock Ding out of the playoffs if they win and take 6th place themselves.
So on both ends of the spectrum, both down around 6th place and around 2nd, there are possibilities. It's like one of those books where like you can make your decision where you flip on the pages and you know, like this, like a choose your own adventure kind of thing. They are. So this is, it could go any way. There are a lot of, you know, criteria that needs to be met and certain results. So teams have done their homework now. I could even see, I think it was Raven HR in the chat, like, yeah, come on Virtus.pro, because he knows if Utopia don't win this, they have a chance to sneak back in. So Ding and Penta, both with opportunities, I think, to get up there into that sort of 6th position. Unfortunately, no opportunity for Strong Siema to do that now from where they are. But things can change very, very quickly here, and that is an indicator of how close this season has been. You've got a bit of a rift in the middle of the table between sort of 6th and 5th, where Virtus.pro are clear by a few points, but that top 5 and that bottom, from 6th to 10th, has been hotly contested from the get-go.
Yeah, I mean, normally in the seasons we see like 1 or 2 teams being kind of low on the table, and I think that's happened every single time. That's of course been No Mercy and ASAP. But even they have been able to challenge. They've been getting some results against some of the top teams, ASAP against Tornado, for instance. But let's be honest here. This has been a super close season because we've had some top teams. We've had teams also like Utopia, for instance, who did well for half of Season 5 and then ended up absolutely tilting all the way down to the bottom, basically come back into Season 6, Season 1, 2015-16, and actually perform. And now, yeah, okay, they're lost right now, but they still have a chance to get into 6th place.
That's right. We can have a look at this table now just to illustrate what we're talking about for you guys as well, because it is very, very close. So no change, no big change for Utopia. They stay in 6th, but Virtus.pro, they leapfrog over Kazna Crew. Excuse me. Now, if Kazna Crew get the win against Tornado, well, we have an interesting little scenario developing.
If Kazna Crew get the win over Tornado, Kazna will be going to the finals automatically. They won't have to play this weekend. That is this weekend, the playoffs, the pre-playoffs, which is basically what we had in the first day of the normal offline finals, where we had a double elimination bracket, and the 2 teams that won there, that were the top there, managed to go into the 2nd day, playing the 2 that were 1st and 2nd from the online stage, which was you know, last season, Virtus.pro and School Bus. So not, I think it was. Yeah, it was Virtus.pro and GG Well Played even. Yep. So yeah, you have that situation this weekend where there's a lot on the line. We've also got the relegations coming up, which is also super important, where the Silver Series teams will have a chance to show us their mettle as well.
Yep. I do want to point out a quick correction as well. We saw the ladder come up just now. It said Kazna Crew only had 21 points. Now, for them to win on Thursday, that would mean they were even with Virtus.pro. They actually have 22 points. So a win against Rocks puts them directly up into that spot of 2nd place, because that would be VPro and Tornado Rocks equal on 24 points. So that is the scenario right now. There'll be a lot of leapfrogging for now. But Melly, there it is. You know, Utopia, great start to the season, but this is the nasty part about, you know, having to play against the top teams 4 weeks in a row.
On one of their favorite maps.
Yep. You never get an accurate depiction of where you stand until the end of the season.
Absolutely. I mean, it looked so well. Utopia was going so strong throughout the first map, but then losing 4 rounds in a row, and somehow you guys at home knew it, as per usual. Our swarm intelligence in our audience is just unbeatable. 80% for Virtus.pro from your sides, and congratulations to that. Of course, the next vote is already open, so head over to our Facebook page, facebook.com/WJLEU, to get involved, to get your votes in for the next matchup, which is No Mercy versus Ding. And currently, we have a result already. So it's 65% in No Mercy's favor. So people head over, as said, to our social media platform and get involved. Let's see how this vote adjusts over time. We'll be heading into a short break and we'll hopefully see you back in roughly 10 minutes for No Mercy versus Ding.